Hello my Pookies, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little rice ball, this little onigiri. This is super easy and beginner friendly. You can get it done in under an hour. I'm going to explain every single stitch you need to know. So let's get started with the materials that you're going to need. First off, we need black and white yarn. You can choose any size you like. Here I have some weight for DK yarn in 100% acrylic. Get yourself a hook that fits the yarn. In my case, it's going to be 6mm. Some scissors to cut the yarn with. A large needle for sewing and weaving in the yarn. A stitch marker for counting your rounds. Some stuffing to put inside your rice ball. And optionally, some safety eyes if you want to give your rice ball a face. Once you have all those materials, let's get started with the project. Get your white yarn. We are going to start with the rice part of the rice ball. We need to make a magic circle. I'm gonna demonstrate how to make one very slowly so you can follow along. If you also want an explanation of what I'm doing in depth, please click the link in my description or the link in the upper right corner of this video. The in-depth video explanation for a magic circle should take you only about a minute or so to follow. Now into this magic circle, we are going to work 9 single crochets. Holding the circle open with your hands, we are going to insert our hook into it, including the starting tail. So we're going to go under 2 strands of yarn here when we insert our hook. We are going to take the working yarn and yarn over, so bringing it over our hook. Twist your hook to bring that yarn through the circle. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. We are going to yarn over again with the working yarn, so bring the yarn over the hook. And again, we're going to pull it, this time through both loops on our hook. And that is 1 single crochet stitch. We need 8 more for this first round. So again, insert your hook into the circle, yarn over and pull that yarn through the circle, yarn over again, and then pull that through the 2 loops on your hook. That is another single crochet. I'm going to do the remainder of these with you in real time, and you can follow along or replay the video as many times as you need. So I've just done my 9th stitch, and you can count back to check how many you have. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, the loop on your hook does not count as a stitch. Now we can take the starting tail and pull it to close the magic circle. And your first round of 9 single crochets is complete. We're going to start the next round in the first single crochet of the previous, so that should be the single crochet that's right next to your hook now. And we're going to place a single crochet in here. So same maneuver, the only difference is where we're inserting our hook. And it's going to be into these 2 loops here. They form kind of a V at the top of the stitch. It's going to be a bit tight, so I just like to do it one by one, and I use my index finger to kind of help myself push the hook through. From there, you bring your working yarn over your hook as usual, and this time you pull it through those 2 loops that you just inserted your hook into. The rest is the same as before, so yarn over, and then pull that yarn through the 2 loops on your hook. And then you finished a single crochet. And absolutely crucial is that you mark this stitch. This is the first stitch of the next round. We always have to mark the first stitch of each round so that we don't lose our place. Moving on, in the next stitch, we are going to place 3 single crochets. So same as before, you know how to make a single crochet stitch. We're just going to do it 3 times instead of once. So again, insert your hook under those 2 loops of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 single crochet. Now we need 2 more in that same opening that we just worked into. There's the second stitch, and now 1 more. And now we have 3. In the next 2 stitches of this round, we are going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch. So single crochet in this one and this one. Now after that, we are once again going to place 3 single crochets into the next stitch. So just as before, single crochet 3 times in 1 stitch. And I really like to pull open the stitch that I'm working into so that I can really keep tabs on it so that I don't like accidentally work into the next stitch when I'm meaning to work into the same stitch that I just worked into. And again, we're going to work one single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that would be this one and this one. If you have spare stitch markers and you're having trouble differentiating between the stitches, I find it useful to mark the stitches in advance so that I know which ones I've already worked into and then which ones are coming up next. So let's check our progress. We should have 2 more stitches before the marked stitch, which is the first stitch that we made in this round. If you have 2 stitches left here, you have done everything correctly, and we are going to once again place 3 single crochets into the next stitch. And in the final stitch of this round, we are just going to place 1 single crochet. And that completes the second round, and you should have a total of 15 stitches if you want to go back and double check that everything is correct. To start off the next round, we're just going to make 2 single crochets, so 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. I'm going to remove the stitch marker, and then I'm going to single crochet in that very first stitch. And then before I do anything else after that, I'm going to immediately replace that stitch marker before I forget. Because if I forget, it's almost impossible to check my progress and count my stitches, so I would just have to start the whole project all over again. Okay, once your stitch marker is back and secured, go ahead and make that second single crochet. Then in the next stitch, we are going to place 3 single crochets, just like we did in the previous round. Now we are going to make 4 regular single crochets, so 1 single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches. I'm going to be going into time-lapse mode now after explaining each step once I've already explained the maneuvers. If this is too fast, please feel free to pause the video, replay things, or watch at a slower speed. Okay, y'all, you know the drill. 3 single crochets in the next stitch. Now let's repeat the sequence, make 4 regular single crochets. Let's do a progress check. You should have 3 more stitches before the end of the round. Let's once again make 3 single crochets in 1 stitch. And then we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches to end the round. Once you've reached the end of the round, I would count back to double check that you have a total of 21 stitches. By now, you've probably picked up the fact that there's a sequence going on. I'm going to start grouping instructions together to make this tutorial more concise, and you can work more independently to better understand the pattern sequences. Starting off round 4, we are going to make 3 regular single crochets. Do not forget to put the stitch marker back after making the first single crochet, before making the next 2 after that. So now we've reached a pattern sequence. We are going to do 3 single crochets in 1 stitch, followed by 6 regular single crochets. And then we're going to repeat that. So then another increase of 3, followed by another regular 6. Once you've done that pattern, let's do another progress check. You should have 4 stitches left in this round. Let's complete it by making 1 more increase of 3 single crochets in 1 stitch, followed by 3 regular single crochets. You should end this round with a total of 27 stitches. Starting round 5, let's do 4 single crochets, replacing the stitch marker after the first single crochet. Now the sequence for this round: 3 single crochets in 1, followed by 8 single crochets, and you want to do this twice. Once you've done that, double check to make sure that you have 5 more stitches to complete the round. In these 5 remaining stitches, place 3 single crochets in the first one, and then 1 single crochet in the remaining 4. This round should have a total of 33 stitches. Once you're here, we have actually completed one side of the rice ball. The next 5 rounds are super easy. All we are going to do is put 1 single crochet into every single stitch without doing any increases. Keep replacing that stitch marker at the start of every round, because even though this is just continuous, it is still very important to know when each round stops and starts. Continue checking that each round ends on 33 stitches for each of these 5 rounds. Guys, I'm gonna do 5 rounds of just single crochet, and then I will meet you back when those rounds are finished to show you what to do next. Pause the video here and work on it in your own time, and may I suggest that while you work on it, you watch some of my crochet vlogs that are also on my channel. Just putting that idea out there. Okay, see you soon. So now we've finished those 5 rounds and we have the sides of the rice ball done. Now is the time to make a face if you want to do so. Get rid of your hook for now, pull out that last stitch to make sure nothing unravels, and we are going to start with the eyes. Any size safety eyes will do. Here I just have some 10mm. I don't really have a method to this. I kind of just place the project upright so that one of the 3 points of the triangle is facing up, and then I just hover my eyes until I find a good position for them, somewhere on the upper half of the project, so above that magic circle, and then I poke them through. I make sure they've gone through cleanly by checking the back side, and that looks pretty good for me. The left eye is a little lower than the right, but I don't really care. And then I turn the project backwards and I take the backings and push them onto the screws that are poking out through the back. It's super simple, just make sure the backings are secured so that your safety eyes don't fall out later on. Now let's move on to making the mouth. Get your tapestry needle, get your black yarn, and thread it through. We are just going to use this yarn to draw a straight line, and it's going to span across 1 stitch in between the 2 eyes, like slightly below it. I'm inserting my needle from the inside out, and it's going to exit on the same point that's going to make up 1 side of the mouth. So as you can see, it's just coming out through this stitch right here that's like diagonally below the right eye. Pull it through, leave a little bit of length. I have way too much length here, I don't know why I did that. And then with our needle, we are going to insert from the outside in 1 stitch over. So this will be diagonally below the other eye. And once you pull that through, you have a little mouth. Nice and simple. Let's turn the project around so that we're looking at the inside again. Let's secure the black yarn so that the mouth doesn't just fall out. As you can see, we have kind of 2 strands of yarn coming out the front, 1 from either side of the mouth. And we only need these to be a couple inches long so that we can tie them. You can put your needle aside. I'm just going to pull this backwards a little bit until that starting tail is the length I want. And then the other tail I'm going to cut. And now all we have to do with these 2 ends is just gently tie them together. And do not pull this tight. You only want to pull until the knot is like almost right up against the rice ball, no more, no less. If you pull more, the mouth is going to cinch in and the whole project is going to scrunch and it doesn't look very nice. And I'm just going to do a second knot here for good measure. And just like that, your little mouth is complete. Now is also a good time to secure that inner tail left over from the magic circle we did at the very start of the project, especially if it keeps falling open as you work. Let's pull it tight and thread it through the tapestry needle. I'm going to turn the rice ball inside out just for now so we can get a better look at what we're doing. To secure this tail, we just need to weave it around the inner side of the magic circle a few times, and this way you're kind of sewing it in on itself, and that way it can't unravel. So just staying within that small circle that makes up the first round of your project, I'm just going around and round and back and forth a few times until I feel like that tail is not gonna come loose over time. And once I'm happy, I'm just gonna finish off by removing my tapestry needle, turning my project back around, and now we can continue finishing off the rice ball. So let's grab our hook again and put it back in that final stitch that we did. We're gonna do the exact same thing we did to make the first side, but backwards. So this time So now we are on round 11 and we are going to start by making 5 regular single crochets. Don't forget to put back that stitch marker after the first one. So now is where we would usually make an increase of 3. This time we're going to take the next 3 stitches and single crochet them together. And we're going to do that by picking up only the front loop. So rather than going all the way in like this, we only need to pick up the front strand of yarn. And again, I'm just using my index finger to guide my hook through to make sure that I don't accidentally pick up any extra strands. And we need the front loops of the next 3 stitches. So here I'm picking up the second one, and your hook's going to get a little bit crowded, but just take your time and pick up the final one. From here, we are going to yarn over, and we are going to pull that yarn through these 3 front loops. And I like to just do it one by one to make sure that I don't make any errors. So now you should be left with 2 loops on your hook, and we're just going to finish by yarning over and pulling through 2 as you would a regular single crochet. After making this large decrease, I like to pull everything really tight. This one stitch can tend to be looser than the others because it's one stitch spanning across 3. Next, we're going to make 8 regular single crochets, and it's very important to make sure that you're working into the next stitch and not the last stitch that you decreased into. So really double check that the stitch you're working into does not have a front loop that looks like it's being stretched towards your hook. After those 8 single crochets, we are once again going to decrease by single crocheting the front loops of the next 3 stitches together. Make sure that's pulled tight, and then you guessed it, we are going to make another 8 regular single crochets. Here again, I'm just being really careful and making sure that the next stitch I work into isn't one that I already decreased. Progress check, you should have 6 stitches remaining in this round. Let's finish off by decreasing together the next 3, and then after that we're going to do 3 regular single crochets. The 11th round should end with a total of 27 stitches. Starting round 12, we are going to make 4 single crochets. We are now going to do the following twice. Decrease 3 together, 6 single crochet. Let's do our usual progress check. We should have 5 more stitches to end this round. Let's single crochet the next 3 together, followed by 2 regular single crochets. Ending this round, you should have 21 stitches. Once you have that, it is time for my favorite part, which is stuffing the project. Now, this is very easy, but there are 2 things you need to keep in mind. Firstly, do not stuff too much. Secondly, you want to really reinforce the shape of the rice ball, so you're not only just stuffing it, but you're also pushing the stuffing into the 3 corners so that the stuffing doesn't just like turn the whole thing into a circle. So as you can see here, I'm just grabbing a little bit of stuffing each time, and I'm really pushing it into the 3 corners to reinforce the triangle shape of the rice ball. And once your project has a little bit of squish, you have enough stuffing already. If you put too much stuffing, your project is just going to turn into a ball, so it should still look like a triangle at this point. Also, make sure that the stitches aren't being pulled apart by the stuffing underneath, because if that is the case, once you close this project, you're going to be able to see the stuffing in between the stitches, and we really do not want that. Anyway, let's move on to round 13, which we start with 3 single crochets. Now from here on out, it's going to be a little tougher than before because now not only are we decreasing the round, so it's getting tighter and tighter, there is also stuffing that we have to work around. So it's totally normal if you're fighting a little bit with the tension here. Just take it slow, and if you find that your stitches are abnormally loose, what you can do is grab a hook of a smaller size for the remainder of this project. After those 3 single crochets, we are going to single crochet 3 together and then make 4 single crochets, and then we're going to do that twice. you should be left with 4 stitches to finish off this round. We're going to single crochet 3 of those together and then put a regular single crochet in the last one. Ending this round, you should have 15 stitches. We are now on to the 14th and final round of the rice ball. For this last round, guys, I am not going to do any voiceover narration. I'm going to put the written instructions for this entire round on the bottom of the screen. See if you can complete this round only by following the written instructions. Don't worry if these are confusing. I'm going to do the round with you in real time, so if the written instructions are still difficult to follow, go ahead and just copy what I'm doing on screen. This final round should end with 9 stitches. Even though it's the last round, I'm still replacing my stitch marker just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. If you make a mistake at this point, it doesn't really matter because this round we're gonna sew shut, so you can't really see it, but I like to do that just to be extra sure. And if you're here, that means you have successfully finished the last round of the rice ball. So let's go ahead and finish off. We are going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So just insert your hook. It's going to be really tight because the round is tiny. Yarn over, pull it through, and then pull it through the last loop on your hook. And just like that, you have a slip stitch. We need the yarn tail to be a little bit longer so that we can use it to sew the final round shut. So I'm leaving about 12 inches of length here before cutting. You can do a little less. I just like to overshoot to be extra safe. And once you have cut your yarn, take your hook and just pull that loop all the way out. We're gonna use this long tail to close this final little hole here. So grab your tapestry needle, thread it through this tail. Now with this needle, we are going to weave around this circle in the outermost front loops. So the same loops that you pick up when making those decreases of 3. And I just go around slowly picking up each of the front loops one by one, occasionally pulling my thread all the way through. Now once you've gone all the way around, you can do one final tight pull and that should close the circle shut. Let's secure the remainder of this tail the same way that we secured the magic circle. So I am just gonna weave the rest of the tail back and forth through the closure. Doesn't really matter where because it's not gonna show through because the whole project is white. Just making sure that the tail weaves in on itself so that it can't unravel. And once I know it's secure, I like to just get rid of some extra length on that tail by just really weaving it in through the entire project. And then when I'm happy with how much I've secured it, I'm going to take my scissors and then I'm gonna cut the remainder of it right up against the body of the project. And just like that, your rice ball is complete. Now he looks a little naked, so let's put him aside and let's make the seaweed to give him something to wear. Grab your black yarn and we are going to start with a slip knot, which is almost a magic circle, but once you grab that strand of yarn and then pull it through, you don't have to do that extra chain. You just pull it all the way off, like so. And once you have that, just pull on both ends so that it's a loop that is snug against the body of your hook. We're gonna make 8 chain stitches. I like to take my index finger and hold down that loop on my hook so that when I'm chaining, it doesn't like get pulled by the yarning over. To make a chain stitch, you just yarn over and then pull that yarn through the loop on your hook, and that is 1 chain stitch. The seaweed is going to be 8 stitches wide, so let's make 7 more chain stitches. And this chain is going to be approximately how wide that seaweed is, so if you think it's too long or too short, just add fewer or more chain stitches respectively. So we need to turn around and work down this chain, but in order to do that we need some extra length so that we can turn the project around. So what we're going to do is just make one more chain stitch. Once you have that, we are going to single crochet down this foundation chain, starting from the second loop on our hook. So not this first one here, but this second one here. And we just insert into that one loop that's on the left, or the one on the top when you turn the chain horizontal. So insert and yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's one single crochet stitch, just like we were doing before for the rice ball. We're going to make 7 more working down this chain, and I'm going to do it in real time so you can follow along. And that was the first row of 8 single crochets. To start the next row, we always have to chain 1, and we are going to flip our work over, so now we are going to work down the back side of those 8 single crochets that we just made, starting in the second stitch from our hook. So not this little one here, that's the chain that we just made, but in this first full single crochet stitch. And this should feel familiar. It's exactly what you were doing when making the rice ball. So you're inserting your hook into that full stitch underneath 2 loops rather than 1, and just making single crochets all the way down. Once you've reached the end of the row, it's good to count back to make sure that you have 8 stitches. The loop on your hook does not count as a stitch, so counting back from that loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, starting the next round, chain 1, flip your work, and starting from the second stitch from your hook, single crochet down the row once again. And this is all you need to do to build up the seaweed. We just go back and forth row by row until you have a total of 15 rows, each row with 8 single crochets. I am going to do all of that off camera and meet you back when the seaweed is complete and then explain what to do next. So now I have 15 rows of 8 single crochets. I'm just going to try it on my rice ball for size to see how I like it. I want it to start just below the face, and then on the back side I want it to just kind of cover up that middle circle. Once you're happy with the size, we can finish off, and we do this by making one final chain, and then we're going to leave a long tail because we need this to sew the seaweed to the rice ball, and then we can just cut that off and then pull it all the way through just like we did before with the rice ball. Grab your tapestry needle again, and you can use really any technique you want to sew the seaweed to the rice ball. I'm just going to show you what I do because I think it's easiest and most efficient. I only sew the first and last row. I don't actually sew down the sides. And I sew down both sides at the same time by zigzagging my needle back and forth through the body of the rice ball, starting on the side that I finished off so that my tail is already in the correct position. And I'm just using the stitches on the first and last rows as a guide for where to insert my needle. And just like that, it's very quick and easy because I only need to move back and forth a couple of times and then it's secured. You can go down the length as well if you like, but I prefer to just do it this way. So now I have both sides secured, so I am going to also secure the remainder of this tail. So I am weaving it from the last exit point to a point underneath the seaweed, like kind of between the seaweed and the rice ball so that it's hidden. And here I'm just going to tie a couple knots so that it doesn't unravel. And then I'm gonna weave the tail through the body one more time because I have trust issues, and have it exit somewhere on the black so that you can't see it. And then take my scissors and then cut that tail right up against the project. We are almost done. We just have the black tail from the other side of the seaweed now. And this one we just need to weave in. We don't have to secure it with knots or anything. So as you can see, I'm just weaving it once through the body and having it exit out on another point, but making sure the area is also black, and then just cutting it right up against the project. I'm just giving everything a final tug here, making sure it's in the spot that I like. Just like that, guys, we are done with this little rice ball project, and oh my god, the eyes are so wonky. I should have actually... you know what? I don't care. It's cute. It's a happy accident. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. I hope you like him. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. Yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for more tutorials, I hope. Okay, bye. Love you.